Holy moly. Hello, everybody, whoever's in here tonight. I have a kind of a special show happening tonight. So, hopefully that sounded okay. I didn't really get a great sound check in, so I don't know if the sound was good, but please let me know in the chat if the sound was good. My name is Jim Toscano, and tonight I'm going to be talking about building drum tracks in the studio, and I'm going to be in here with my very, very dear friend and bandmate, Rob Glick, a bass player that I've been playing with ever since I was a wee lad. And he and I played in rock bands and country bands and fusion bands and you name it. We did all kinds of stuff together. I do have a little split screen I'm going to bring in with Rob and I. If I can get this up and happening. I probably have it on the wrong side. There we go. Let me see. All right. And actually, what I might do is just go to the monitor screen of this whole thing. And let me see if we can pull this off. All right. And then I apologize. I'm doing a lot of this on the fly. I'm going to keep it in split screen for the moment. Rob, are you there? All right. Rob Glick in the house. So I'm gonna check in with the chat shortly. There may have been some minor technical glitches, not really sure, but we're gonna definitely get into it. We're gonna talk about that tune that we just played, and I'm gonna talk about another tune that we're starting to work on, and I'm also gonna show you some PDFs of the charts. But before we do that, let me just kind of introduce Rob and let him say hello to y'all. Rob Glick, my good friend and very talented songwriter, bass player, right here with you tonight. TV Land. So this tune, like this is one of the sort of earlier ones that we started working on. First of all, this band doesn't really have a name yet. We're getting close. I personally, I kind of thought of this idea of calling it Kairos, which I stole from Klaus Hessler, who's a very fine drummer from Germany, and this Kairos is like this aha moment, this life-changing moment, and I thought that was such a great name for the band, but not everyone agreed, so, you know, then there was something about roosters happening, I don't know. Why don't you address that? Okay. What? Oh, man. Well, that's not good. Right, right. Right. Yeah. That is true. That is true. Rehearsing in my mother's basement, like a very, very long time ago. Wow. So, by the way, I just realized why everything went wrong with the sound. Because I was testing some different gear today, and I think I left the sound settings from earlier. Like I said, I didn't get a good sound check in, so I'm going to have to actually address that at some point while we're doing this, unfortunately. But yeah, so like, you know, kind of you know, the rehearsal thing in the basement of my mom's house, doing that together when we were younger, and you know, we had the band with Pete Tufel, which we called, what did we call that? Big Planet. Yes, Big Planet. And then, you know, various projects that you and I played in together, just as a rhythm section, working with people. And then the fusion band that I started with Jeff, and then we brought you into that one, and that was like an awesome thing. That was probably the most nerve-wracking experience for everybody, just because all of a sudden everybody's just reading charts and preparing a lot of music and going out and playing. And we had so many formations of that band, from nice. Yeah, I mean, you know, and that band played, you know, a bunch of gigs, and we did some of those outdoor festivals and stuff, and that was really a fun band. But that kind of, I think, planted a seed a long time ago for us to sort of collaborate in this jazz fusion kind of realm. And you know, when you said that you were going to start writing music in this genre again, and you hit me up, I was like, done, we're doing it, let's do this. So I was really stoked. So why don't you kind of introduce who else is in the band? Since it's funny, this lineup of the band has never played all together in person. This has been an internet project, basically. Rob, I'm gonna make you hold on for 1 second. I'm gonna fix the sound. I have to fix it right now because Russ Palladino is saying we're not hearing you. That is not good. So, give me a moment. We're fixing this. Unfortunately, it had to be the first time we go live together that I blow it. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna put it on the standby screen. Let's see what happened here. Yep. Oh man, that stinks. Okay, 1 second. Wow, it was set from earlier. That's so bad. All right, fixed one of them, and I'm fixing the other one, and then we'll be back in just a minute. Shit. Yeah, US capture, that one was good. Monitor split. This one is audio. That one's supposed to be good. I don't know. All right, monitor. Desktop audio. Input capture. That one says it's good. All right. We're going to do this. Hopefully, I got this fixed, and we're going to go. And I'm going to bring the chat window up for a minute because I have to make sure that we're going to hear you. Damn. That's not good. You know, I bring in a Zoom class twice a week, and we never have a problem. It's crazy. All right, hold on 1 second. Let me bring up the chat screen. Okay, so I'm checking into the chat, and I'm going to do this real quick because apparently we're having many issues with sound tonight. So I'm apologizing right here. I'm in the chat window. I can see you guys. Just I'm going to have a quick chat with you guys and hopefully get this back and rolling with Rob. Let's see. Brainstorm, can't hear Rob. Hey, Jim, I can hear you. Your friend in the Facebook stream, can't hear him. Right, okay. So hopefully we just fix that. I'm going to attempt to do this again and bring Rob in. Russ Palladino, if you're listening, give us some feedback in the chat window. Okay, I'm going to do a little, I'm going to go back. I'm going to bring Rob in, and let's see what is all happening. Okay. Are you guys hearing Mr. Rob Glick talk? Rob Glick?
Okay, I am still here, and I could actually see my text screen that Russ was texting me also. So, Russ, let me know in one form or another if you can hear me.
Yeah. And if that's not happening tonight, we're obviously going to fix that. And, yeah, Russ, text back. I have your window open. And then we'll do this again once we get it worked out. But, yeah.
I'm not saying a single thing until I know somebody.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, here's what I'm going to do in the meantime. I'm waiting to hear back from folks to see if we're hearing Robin in the chat. If we're still not going to get Robin here, I'm going to continue the show going through some PDFs and the chart and some tracks, and let's see what we can make happen. So,
make sure I can hear the track.
Yeah. That's right. You didn't hear the track before, so we were having major issues tonight. Can you hear this?
Russ just texted that he could hear me.
That is good.
But wait, I can't hear the track.
You're still not hearing the track?
No.
Wow, we're having some rough times at the OK Corral. All right. Well, we're gonna keep chatting about the band in the meantime, and then we'll figure out what all went down with the tracks. This is a rare thing because usually we're all good, man. And I think it had to do with, I mean, it's possible that you're not going to hear the track and everybody else is. So I'm going to, let's now hear if the people in the chat are hearing the track. Okay, somebody hit me back about the tracks. Now we can hear Rob, so thank God for that. So
sure.
All right. So anyway, back to this. Back to the tune. So, what was the? So how did 90 start? Was this like a bass line?
Yeah. So of course, everything I said before that nobody heard was brilliant.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, of course it was.
No. So this was one of those tunes that started just by me screwing around with something, maybe a loop or something in my studio early in the morning. It's kind of an unusual, I mean, before we heard Your Groove, obviously, which is amazing, but we actually didn't hear the backing track, or at least I didn't. And so there was it's kind of an interesting sort of bass sort of groove thing going on behind it. And I always heard that melody also in my head as well. And the original demo, though, was very, very straight. I think it was like some sort of a click thing that I put together that was just like a kick drum and a rim shot type of a beat. Very, very simple.
Right.
And like always, that when I send you stuff and I never know what I'm going to get back, it's always smiling ear to ear because it's like, oh, my God, there's an amazing human being playing along with this now that is certainly brings it into a completely different dimension than the way I had messing around with it at sunrise in the morning. So and that's exactly what went down with this one. Now you asked me about talking about other people in the band. So in the very, very early stages, even before I think I even contacted you about this, I had been introduced to Bill Ware, infamous Bill Ware, who's played vibes with everybody from Steely Dan to Jazz Passengers, all kinds of Groove Collective, all kinds of unbelievable things. And long story long, we got introduced together, and he said, play me something that you're working on. And I chose to play like a lot of these sort of like little tidbits of ideas that I thought would be the birth of some sort of a funky, jazzy fusion kind of a thing. And he started putting some harmonic content in there, some Fender Rhodes, some things like that. And all of a sudden it just sort of really gave it some validity. And that's when I actually reached out to you, Jim, and then obviously Russ, who's a great sax player that I also know from 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's how that was all born with this song.
And I've actually done some playing with Russ in various things, various gigs and things that we've ran into each other playing live. And then of course we did that first couple of meetings, rehearsals that we sort of came together to put a human stamp on these tunes, which was really fun in the very beginning. And I think from everybody, we're starting to hear things that you just might not expect on certain tunes. So, I mean, that's my goal always, is to bring something to the table that you just don't expect. Hopefully, that works out most of the time, as long as I'm allowed to do that, depending on who I'm working with. But yeah, so like, I think this is one of those tunes that I really had fun putting it together. And what I did was, and I'm showing it right now, is I took the vibe part and I kind of started to lay out sort of the melody on the drum set in a way, like a groove melody. And you're also playing like a groove melody. It's kind of an interesting track. Let me just see. I wonder if, I'm hoping that, well, Russ never answered back, but I'm hoping that the listeners are hearing the track. I'm not sure why you weren't hearing the track, but I'm going to do one quick little fix-it, guys, if you don't mind. I'm going to check something, which, it's kind of funny. What happened was I kind of dropped the ball. I didn't know if we were going live together or not. And so then I didn't have Zoom set up. And then so in the last minute, I got Zoom going. Yeah, that's why. I got it. We're all fixed. Hold on one second. So at the last second, I put Zoom in and just didn't have it like set to go. So anyway, hopefully this is bringing everything in well, and we're back to normal. And Rob, you should be probably able to hear the track now.
Yeah, I actually hear you 100 times better now.
Yeah. So what was happening for you folks at home, and I'm supposed to be the technology guy. Meanwhile, like, I had something set up from earlier, and we were hearing a microphone from across the room. So apologies. And here's the track, and you hear the click? Yeah. So real quick, you're just going to hear. Now, like, when I first heard that, I was like, funky waltz, right? That's what I'm thinking. But it's in 7, so it's almost a funky waltz, right? And so here I'm going to share a PDF of the drum groove that I'm playing on this thing, and probably in a future episode, I would think that we're going to have the bass patched in too, so we can kind of like hear Rob's playing on it. But I'm just going to play that drum groove that I'm playing. So I was kind of hearing it as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 1, 2. So it's got these little groupings going on, right? So 1. Right? And then we have that little sort of unison melody in there, which is kind of it's a really interesting thing. Here, I'm going to put that with the tune for a second. So that I was getting a text in there. So that's the groove that I came up with for it, and I think you dug it, right?
I smiled instantly when I heard that thing, because keeping in mind that what I had heard for probably months before that was like boom, click, boom, click, just something. So this was significantly better than that.
Excellent. And then, as we go through this tune, it takes like a whole 360-degree turn, which I think is really cool in this context, sort of bringing it into the rock fusion realm. And then we go into this really heavy section, which, by the way, to me was just sort of heavy. I heard the potential of it, but until you brought Capers in on guitar, and he brought in sort of like a heavy guitar deal. Yes?
Well, so that's funny because I ended up playing the guitars on this only because Capers has been he's been so busy.
Ah! Oh, that's so funny. So you're playing all the like sort of power chord stuff that comes in.
I'm playing all the guitars and all the bass on this.
That's awesome. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, guitars and bass by Rob on this tune. So let me bring it to that part, that B part that I'm talking about. And so it goes through the melody a couple times. All right. So now it's like pretty heavy duty, right? So what's the influence there anyway?
So that's funny because you got to remember before there was even a guitar thought in this song, we were a quartet, which was basically bass, drums, saxophone, and vibes. And we were kind of at least I was thinking along the writing and the performing that we were kind of polite. Because it's the context of what I thought we were doing. But although Capers is not on this song physically or whatever you want to call it, he's all over it in regard to influence. So when I started to just lay down some guitar parts just to see what could possibly be there, I was without question channeling our great guitar player Eric Capers, because ever since he started adding his funk sort of groove rock kind of stuff, jazz influence, but sort of like in a Steely Dan-ish kind of a way, not like hardcore jazz.
Right.
It gave me a direction as to what I should really try to play in some guitar stuff, because I'm limited in my guitar abilities. So I was basically just thinking, what would he do? And that's where this came. As far as the heavy thing goes, it had totally had to do with what you heard, because you clearly ramp up in that section.
Yeah.
And then it was Russ's idea, because I was still being kind of polite with the guitar, and Russ literally said, "Nah, power chords, man, power chords." And I was like, "Really? Like, is that going to be right?" And it's right. And wait, I got to read this amazing quote from our good friend Pete Tufel, who said, "I've never heard John Coltrane mixed with like hard rock before."
Nice.
And it's really kind of like what it became.
So that's so great that Pete said that. I'm pulling over the chat window real quick because I just want to make sure. Oh yeah, Russ is all over. Now he says yes, the track is audible. So now like everybody's going like, I don't want to disturb you, but just let you know. All right. So here's the thing. It's all happening. Can't hear. So it happened at some point. Yes, I can hear it now. Good. That's all good to know. So I had to check in with the chat just out. Oh, good. Lauren Silverman sounds crispy AF. Excellent. All right. Awesome. So this track, I heard when you started playing that bass line. Sing the bass line in the B part, since you don't have your bass right there. Yeah, so immediately I'm thinking like sort of heavy funk, right? So I was playing sort of like that kind of thing. So I kept that vibe going, but then like playing through the track for this, you know, because I hadn't heard the guitars when I laid down my part. There were no guitars yet, right?
Right.
So it's
right.
sort of like evolving, but it still works really well. But it's funny how, you know, now you start to hear things that are on these tracks, and it triggers you to want to do something else. So like I went into, you know, when I was fooling around with it, I went into some little bit more edgy fills and some edgier stuff like on the groove, but really interesting mix of stuff. So I dig that tune a lot, and that's why I asked to kind of go over that one today in this, and kind of, you know, looking at the grooves anyway as far as groove construction for this stuff, which you and I mean, ever since we started playing together, we always looked at each other and went, the groove is the most important thing, which it is. Yeah. Every drummer and bass player can appreciate that. And but, you know, with this kind of thing, we try to keep, I think part of our idea is to keep a thread through all this music that people can relate to, right? So speak about that.
Well, you know, I think one of the byproducts that came about how I wrote the tunes, which is essentially with a bass and some form of either, you know, Logic drum loop or even some things that I created myself, was, you know, just to play some sort of a bass line with that is not that interesting. And what I've been finding as we got through about half of the tunes is somebody said to me, wow, like your bass playing is so melodic in this stuff. And I really didn't think I was playing any different than I've been playing for, I don't know, 40 years. The difference was that, well, yeah, it was just me on the bass, so I had to kind of do something to keep it kind of interesting. And a lot of times, just to make the demos, I was kind of multi-tracking the bass, either playing like what would, you know, be a sax line or a guitar line on the bass, or even playing chords on the bass, just to have some sort of harmonic content other than just one note and a drum machine.
Right.
So that's kind of like how this particular song, good example of the song, how this one happened. You know, the bass line is, I don't want to say it's busy, but it travels through an interesting thing only because there was nothing else there. So I had to do something to, I don't know, just make it interesting. And so they're not like typical bass lines, I don't think. And that's the kind of the feedback I've been getting. And I'm normally just a groove guy. I don't really overplay. I try very hard not to overplay. Yeah.
And I would say like the juxtaposition of everything when you bring the vibes in is like such a cool thing, because like in this tune in particular, we go through that heavy section. Before the heavy section, right? Bill comes in and does a vibe solo, and then the sax comes back in like threefold later on with another heavy section. So it's really interesting kind of hills and valleys that are created and soundscapes that are created by this type of instrumentation. Like distorted guitars with vibes is just a very different thing, right? So so it's definitely a fusion.
Yeah, props to Russ on that, because Russ has been saying from day one, we got to get guitar. And I'm thinking, I don't know, we know a lot of guitar players, but it was just trying to manage what we had going, which is 4 people, which was a lot to manage.
Yeah.
So, and you know, I'll talk about Caper's introduction later and how that came about, but he was just absolutely the right guy, because he's not a jazz guy.
Right. And originally we were talking about jazz guys.
Yeah,
and then it was like, okay, when you said, I got this guy Capers, and I was like, who? I had no idea who he was.
Yeah.
And we only just met him recently, right? I mean, as a group.
The crazy thing about Capers is that he and I know each other, I don't know, maybe on and off 8 or 10 years or something like that. Not from music, by riding mountain bikes in the woods. So,
nice.
But we always talk music. But you know how that is. You know, we all know lots of people who are musicians, and not everybody's. And it's not a skill level thing. It's just not everybody's on the same wavelengths of what they're interested in, and blah blah blah. And he started turning me on to like all these groups that I didn't know about, like these newer funk groups like Wolfpack and, you know, Snarky Puppy, all these other kind of really interesting things, which started to make me think that maybe we are on the same wavelength, and praying that he can play like that also. And he said, and I sent him a tune and he loved it. And he said, well, what are you looking for? And I said, I'm not looking for, he goes, I'm not a jazz guy. I said, We're not looking for a jazz guy. I'm looking for like the way like a Larry Carlton approached like a Steely Dan. And he said, say no more. That's my favorite thing in the world. And that was it.
That's so funny, man.
That's it.
Yeah. And
still, by the way, we've still never played together, ever.
Right. Except virtually.
Virtually.
Yeah. And virtually not meaning like, trying to sync stuff and play live over the internet. No. That's not happening. We're just passing tracks back and forth. So, it's a pretty interesting way to work, obviously. But it's amazing that we've created something that I still think feels really authentic, even though we're playing all at different times, And I think it's the process. And also everybody in this band really cares about what the other person is playing and listens. It's not like, hey, look at me, I'm going to do this stuff. It's more like a collaborative thing where we're really trying to make things work together like gears, So
that might be a product of the method. Think about it. Because when you get a track, there's no other distraction other than what's in your ears. There's no visual. You don't have the person there in front of you. So you're literally, all you can do is listen.
Right.
And I think it actually has heightened what we've created because there's literally no visual distraction whatsoever.
Yeah. I'm actually going to throw this track back on for a minute because I want to talk about Russ. And I'm going to put it like somewhere. I'm going to drop it into the solo section before his second sort of solo right? There's like two sort of solos, right? Yeah. I'm not sure where I'm dropping the needle, so we're going to see what happens. But let's see what we got. That's still in the first one, right?
Yeah.
To me, that solo, he really hit it out of the park. Let me go back and just play it.
Without question.
Yeah. Oh, you said without a question.
Yeah, without question. He,
And this, the fact that we have a vibe solo in here. Yeah, Russ. That line right there. I just noticed you did a little climb on the guitar coming out of that thing. That was pretty cool. So now the whole time I'm thinking that's Capers. So
That's the best compliment you could have ever given me.
nice. That sax solo I love, and that was definitely channeling some other things, but I like the track. I mean, I wouldn't change it. That's one of the ones we're not like recording, right? Yeah, that one's done, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it did trigger some stuff underneath that. I started to play some more aggressive action underneath that. But I think that will be saved for the live rendition of this band, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, of course, we all, when things get back to normal in this crazy universe that we're living in right now, hopefully this band is going to go out and play, and I think it's going to be something special and unique. So what do you think?
It's funny that you said that, actually, because I have not played along or even played that song since we recorded it, which is, I don't even know when those basic tracks went down, frankly. That could have been even close to a year ago, I think.
Yeah.
Or something. So while we were waiting for tonight to start, I have my whole setup here and everything. And I was like, I had this on the screen, and I said, I haven't played this song in forever. And of course, it took me a while to figure out my own riff. But then I played along with it, and I was like, I found myself actually loosening up a little and doing some things like behind Bill's solo that I hadn't recorded. But you know what? We're not going to go backwards. And even Russ said, man, I can't. Russ and I text a lot.
Right.
And there's at least twice a day we're texting each other saying, man, when this was live, it's going to be unbelievable, blah, 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 blah. So we're all on the same wavelength. The cool thing about it is that it's not like I've heard some people say that when they where the recordings can be kind of tame, and it's like, yeah, well, we kind of went in the studio and we kind of didn't have a lot of time and to experiment or anything. So we kind of just recorded the basic stuff, but then live, it's a totally different experience.
Right.
I don't think that that's the case here, because the energy here is great.
Right.
Whether you choose to live in the moment and play something slightly different live is different to me than playing safe in the studio and then playing something totally different live.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like we're playing safe.
No.
It just may be a little different live, which is awesome.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. And right. It may be just that we're reacting to each other's, speaking to each other, more conversational. But I think the core parts and the core elements of the tunes will pretty much remain very close to what we did originally, just because it's right and it feels right.
Yeah. Well, and there's a statement to be said to that too, because remember, when I put down these basic demos with the bass and whatever this click track thing or loop is, whatever, and then I send it to you, and then it comes back like, oh, wait a minute, that's how he would play this. There has not been a single track where I have not said, oh, okay, wait a minute, I want to play with Jimmy now. And then I just recut the bass. So that really locks us together. And you and I know this from experience many times, where I kind of, the second you hit an eighth note of where you're going with a fill, I know where you're going with that fill, because we just know each other so much.
That's right.
There are many cases in many songs where it's like, wow, you guys sound like you're totally like playing live together. And it's just because I know you're playing so well and want to accentuate when you're doing something as a bass player to your drummer. Because really, as a bass player, I'm really just a frustrated drummer.
That's right. Right. I mean, you and I, you talk about like having a sixth sense about somebody's playing, but it really just comes from years of knowing each other's playing. And we did play in a fusion group for a while, and we experimented a lot in that band. I think we rehearsed probably more in that band than we did in anything. And we were in so many renditions of that, from having tenor and alto, then we had tenor and trombone. We had different horn arrangements in that band. We had Paul Cabri on guitar, who's an amazing guitar player, and Jeff on keyboards, writing all that banana stuff, and percussion at one time. And so we did that for a really long time. And now, doing this thing together is just such a pleasure. So I wanted to, and I'm watching the chat a little bit, but I wanted to touch on just briefly Bluefish. And the reason is I did a show on that tune a while back. When I first heard it, it's a swinging tune, first of all. And when I say swinging, I mean the time is swinging. And so when I first heard that tune, and you were sort of doing a walking bass line, I kicked right into sort of a traditional kind of thing for that tune. And there was a part of me, I did play that when I was discussing the tune, when I was doing the live stream, I played like a funk groove over it, and I was like, I felt like it was selling out at that moment, right? But all I really had at that moment was mostly just vibes and bass, right? I think originally.
That was the problem.
Yeah. And so like I just had a demo of vibes and bass, and so when I started playing that tune, I was sort of playing like this kind of vibe, like. That kind of thing, and then into the B section, swinging it out with just more, right? So, and then back to the right. So, and then there was a B section where so I was playing more like this kind of thing. Right? So you took that little piece that I was playing on the snare and then made a loop of it and then sent it back to me. And I was like, oh, it's like one of those moments where it's like, all right, so you do want to go that way. But I did have it in my head to maybe take it that way. But what I want to see if I can do is I have a couple of the little stems loaded. And what I'm going to do, this is going to wind up sharing on the screen partially. If I can pull Logic around and cover up the chat window. But I just... What's that?
Do you have Russ's horn section?
I do, yeah.
Okay,
so,
good.
So, I mean, that changed everything. But
everything.
But so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to solo the bass for a second.
Uh-oh. I'm taking my earphones off.
Or actually, let me mute this guy and this guy. And this guy. Let me see if we can hear this. Let's see what we got. So hopefully this is going to play through. And I also made some MP3s, which are on my phone, that I could do if this doesn't seem to work out. But so here's just the bass part. Just so like from a musician point of view. Oh, man. Yeah, it's going to glitch.
Not yet.
You got it? So, I mean, that feel right there, it's kind
of wait,
going in.
I should say something about that. So, Bill's original, by the way, this is not an original composition. This was actually a Bill
composition.
Yeah. So, when he sent me this very, very beboppy jazz thing, he had this piano part that was like down, 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 down. I was like, that's the song.
That was on the piano.
That's the song.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I went. Exactly. Right. All right. So that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So that was the vibe that we were setting up. And then when he goes to the B section, it's totally like, swung out. Right? So this is let me see. This is the let's see if I can get this playing. This is parts of it. I think this is just click and the backing track. Is that Capers like playing the piano line now? That's you.
So you picked the only two songs he's not playing on.
Of course. Oh my God! So you're playing that guitar line now, and that was the piano thing. All right.
Well,
so
yeah, exactly.
So hearing that isolated. Here's that B section, which still could like. Right. So it still could almost sit there. But
the difference was that B section, my mistake when I originally sent it to you was I walked through all that stuff and made it sound like what you were just doing. that was my mistake. And then I sort of played it more like a Motown kind of a ish thing.
Right. So
Yeah.
now I dropped the bass in. I think this has everything. Wait, let me see. I made 3 versions. But I came up with, so this is bass, click, and backing track. I think without horns. And so I think I came up with something that may be kind of fun like today. Is this just going to be bass? Yeah, it's just bass. So check this out. So originally I was like sort of doing a swingy funk thing, right? And then today, playing with the track a little bit before we went live, I started to hear this thing. Let me see if I can play with this one. And this is not what you would think that I would play. So maybe that'll work. We'll see. And actually, I have like a little intro coming up before the horns come in, but. So, a lot of space in that groove and not as busy because there's so much happening in the tune.
Right.
So I was thinking of making it wider and sort of using that tom and not hitting a 4, hitting 2, occasionally the and of 1 or the of 1, and then hitting that 4 on this like kind of high tom. So then, and then when it goes to the B section, I can imply the double time feel without actually playing double time. And then, believe it or not, in the part where we were doing sort of the, the bridge section, I go into a halftime feel there. That same kind of thing, but like this. So I put the backbeat all the way in the center of that. And we didn't get to that section, and of course, this is just like thinking it out today. But, it's coming up, I think, right? Coming up, right? So I think that might be a little, sort of juxtaposition of things, possibly. So yeah. So I'm going to be recording some of the ideas on this week, and then kind of seeing where that's going to take us. And of course, the way we work, I'll send you a demo. You'll check it out, comments, and do our thing.
The thing that we're not hearing in this context right now is this mega horn section.
Right. Wait.
Which is what creates the driving as I call it,
Yes.
Austin Powers thing.
I forgot about that. Right. So sorry, we're leaving out a major element of this
Major
tune now.
element.
So Russ Palladino did all this work and put together a horn section, which took this into a whole nother place, which is awesome. And actually, and probably the only thing we have like that, right? I mean, definitely the only thing we have like that. So let me take a quick peek. I'm sure.
Well, actually, no. There's a couple of tunes now that he's got like horn section-ish parts going on. Like I think Black Beauty. There's a couple of other ones, but yeah. But this one is, I think he really went to the extreme of, in a good way, of just arranging like a whole tune as if we had 5 guys back there with horns.
Yeah. And actually, that completely affects the
Yeah.
treatment of it because,
Yeah.
you know, how I wind up approaching that is definitely changed by hearing his horn parts, which, of course, another like Easter egg. When I heard that version of it, I was like, oh my God, now there's this. Let me see if this is the one with the horns. And we're coming up on the hour, so we're gonna take it out in a minute. But here, check this out. So here's with the horns. Yeah, so that is so awesome, and it's kind of like, you know, the arrangement that he did in that B section. It reminds me of like the Mel Lewis big band, like some of that kind of stuff. So it's really cool. It's like it's got like this driving sort of, you know, throwback kind of horn thing. You said Austin Powers. It's like yes. So I could see this being a really interesting cut. Yeah, I can't wait to dig into it.
It's got to drive. It's definitely got to drive, especially with that guitar part now and these horn parts. I think essentially the song, I don't even see the basses being the main thing. I think it's the horns, that kick snare thing, and that guitar part. I think is what really drives the thing forward.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a fun one, and you know, I'm just excited to be able to share this stuff with everybody in this way. I mean, as we're going through our creative process, and you know, I really appreciate you sharing. You know, being so giving of your time and your creativity on this. So it's pretty amazing. Rob is like working tirelessly on this stuff. You know, the amount of communication going on is incredible. Unfortunately, you know, I've been super booked up lately, but it's really amazing how much progress this thing has made, especially in this last, you know, few months, right?
It takes a pandemic, man. Yeah.
That's right. It takes a pandemic to move, you know, whatever the saying goes.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate everybody tuning in tonight for this different kind of live stream, right? So, and we did it sort of last minute, and that's one on me because I wasn't sure if we were actually going to get to do it tonight together. But I'm so happy that Russ in the chat is going, thanks, guys, I'm blushing. So just real quick in the chat, I just want to peek in there real quick. Roger Street Freeman is in the chat. So hello, Roger. You've heard about Roger, so so great that you popped in.
Love you guys' latest album. Can't say enough good things about it, man. Just great songwriting and great production, everything.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. That record, man. He wrote some great tunes, and as you know, Larry and Larry Campbell and his wife sang on it, and there's some really amazing collaboration of people. And that core band is a great band too. Russ is saying, I love that it's kind of loose in a Bill Stewart way and funky. Cool. Yeah. I got some ideas on this one coming. Hopefully you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised. My mom's in here. So my mom popped in. Hey, Ma, say hi to Rob Glick. You know Rob.
Hi, Mom.
He used to be in the basement all the time with me.
Actually, I think my giant acoustic 360 amp might still be in her basement.
It might still be there. That's true. Lucia, thanks for being there, Lucia. And Chris Schneider's in here tonight. And, of course, Brian Yerkins is in here. Yo, what's up, Brian Yerkins, man? Hanging out. Great guitar player from Staten Island. Ross is in here. It's so great to see you, Ross. And Eric Larson is in here. And Russ Palladino hung out, our sax player. And Lauren Silverman. So we had a nice group tonight. So I think we're going to probably do this again. And what I would love to do, if you're down, is bring in some of the other guys and kind of, we'll get it set up. I'll obviously get the tech set up better early. And maybe what we can do is go through stems and kind of play some of the isolated tracks and have the guys speak to their parts. We might be able to just play the horn stem and have Russ talk about that, or when Capers doesn't play on something, he could just sit and be quiet in the corner. And maybe Bill would come in and chat a little bit. So this was super fun. Thanks so much, Rob, for coming into the live stream. I'll see you guys on Thursday night. We're going to be doing the hand technique workshop as usual. And next Monday will be another drum set. I don't have the topic pulled out yet, but who knows? Maybe you'll see a bunch of dudes in there. I don't know. We'll see what's happening. Everybody be safe and use this time to nurture your creativity. This is a time to really buckle down and do stuff on your instruments while we're all stuck inside. And give your families hugs and kisses, because that's what it's all about. And I'll see you guys on Thursday night. And then, of course, next week at the next drum set one. So take care, everybody. Oh, before I go, just real quick, I just got to say the cymbals from Sabian that I've been playing, these beautiful cymbals, I just wanted to mention real quick. And this 22-inch King Ride over here, this is what's going to be on that track we were just talking about. And, of course, my artisan hat. So beautiful products from Sabian cymbals. And these pedals from Offset that I really love, which I didn't have my overhead shop, but the Offset pedals. And all the products that you see on my drum kit. So just want to mention that real quick. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks so much for tuning in, and talk to you later.